Hey players, how you doing? Welcome back to another episode of Players Guide. On this episode, I've got a topic that I've noticed is trending on YouTube. I don't quite understand it, and it is that retro game and video game collecting is dead. At the beginning or end of every year, I cover video game collecting. I do a deep dive analysis of all the video game collecting consoles and where they are in the marketplace and what has happened to them over the past year and before that, and speculate on why this might be happening. In fact, some of it's not speculation, some of it is informed diagnostics of why this has occurred in video game collecting. Now, we've seen a little bit of a dip recently over the past few months, which in my opinion was expected. And it seems like there is some sort of hysteria over YouTube where people weren't expecting that. Now, obviously, not everybody watches my channel, but I went to go see how this video was doing, and it had a few views. But traditionally, when I put these videos out, a lot of people actually watch them. They're one of the more viewed videos on my channel. This past year's was not. So a quick YouTube search of the title of the video to see what was going on, I saw just an huge flood, just this influx of videos saying I'm sick of collecting, video game collecting is dead. What happened to video game collecting? One of them even said that the video game market has crashed. And I watched a bit of the video and I had to turn it off because the guy was saying, like, I told you guys, I told you this was going to happen. And perhaps a few specific games, maybe. And in a few specific conditions, maybe. But for the most part, I felt that it was a bit ambiguous for somebody to label their video this. You know, it's clearly just to catch your attention and not maybe so well informed. Because the fact of the matter is, retro game collecting and video game collecting is not dead. Now, in defense of some of these videos, at their perspective, there are people who talked about, will it die? Is it going to die because of the digital future, which is something on this channel that has been discussed before. And I think people are just going to take things in a different direction and change gears, much like we've seen with GameStop. If you go into a GameStop now, it's a lot of different little figures and toys, anime stuff, Pokemon cards. It's not as much just a game store anymore, and the used game section in a lot of GameStops is pretty slim, let's face it. So what does that mean for the future of retro video game stores that just sell used games? I think they'll be all right for a while anyways. We don't have too much to worry about. I'm going to tell you right now specifically why retro game or video game collecting is not dead, you know, and it's a clickbaity title, I know, and it can be misleading, and some of the people trying to justify it in their videos, I have to cringe at it and turn it off. I'm sorry, guys. You all have your opinion. But as somebody who has been collecting for many, many years, and it started off for me collecting NES games because there was no other way to play them. Emulating them was still pretty new and not great or easily accessible all the time. It was better just to go to a video store or somewhere that was clearing the games out, go to a clearance bin and buy the game for, you know, $1 to $5. There really wasn't too many that were valued more than that. There was a few, I remember being maybe 15, 20, and those were like the Super Mario games, stuff like that, the first-party Nintendo titles, the really popular games, like you would see a Final Fantasy at that price maybe. And that's not to say if you didn't look hard, you couldn't find them cheaper. I want to say right around 2009, 2010, 2011, we really saw prices start to escalate. And maybe some of the people who have these opinions were not collecting at that time. They're newer collectors. So what they have seen is a consistently increasing price of games over the years, especially if you're one of these people who's doing game hunting videos or actively searching for games and flipping them. Then you're going to notice it's not as easy over the past few months as maybe it has been, because the price and demand just doesn't keep escalating the way it has for like the past 10 years, maybe even longer. But the fact of the matter is that the collecting market has changed. We know that it can't just keep going up and up and up forever and make tons and tons of money off these games expecting to flip them. It's not a crash. There is a dip. Things will probably dip even further. Some games are going to plateau because there's only so many copies to go around. And for that reason, some of those games will also still continue to increase in value. You also got to factor into this the nostalgia factor, which I have a video about, and you could find at the end of this one, which states that basically many consoles are going to go through collector phases where they get really hot, like the PS2 right now. Not saying too much of a market crash or a dip, is it? Because that generation is actively collecting those games that they are nostalgic for. That's the nostalgia factor. Whereas those people looking at the PS2 games maybe don't care about the Sega Genesis or the NES or Atari for that matter, but Atari's kind of been flat for a while. The point being is it's just the ebb and flow of collecting. And the people who are truly passionate about it and love it, they're going to stick around, or they may reach their goal and get tired, but there's also other people that are going to pick it up. It's not ever going to be dead. To me, dead is when I was buying those games from the value bins for maybe $1 or $2, these games are now going to be completely worthless. An example of that would be something like Kickmaster. $3 for me from a value bin. For you, maybe you paid more than that and you've seen the price dip. You're not so happy about that if you looked at it as an investment. But if it was something you're adding to your collection that you maybe have a nostalgia for and that's why you're attached to it, or you've wanted to have it and play it for a long time physically, then you're probably not letting go. So what does it really matter? You're a collector. You have these games. It's not dead to you, and it's not dead to me. I find a lot of these hot take videos to just be rants. People are upset in the moment and they want to make a quick clickbaity video based on their hot take. And you see this trend, everybody jumps on it. I might start jumping on these to try to create a more level-headed and experienced approach, because we've seen quite a bit in this hobby. A dip is not really that big of a deal or anything to get concerned about. Unless you are really trying to sell your collection or something, well, then maybe that ship has sailed if you were trying to get the absolute highest price point. But if you don't plan on selling, unless you have to, and you want to hold on to your games because you enjoy having them, collecting them, playing them, whatever it is you like about collecting, well then, please consider subscribing to this channel, because you can expect me to give my take, my 2 cents on, more of these videos like this. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the flip side.